Welcome back to today's episode. We're talking about Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix. It's a Netflix show, 6 episodes, 2 hours in length. Originally, the plan was that you were going to watch the 20-minute pilot, but then you said, why don't I just binge the whole thing? And here we are. It's funny because the last show that we did, Creature, was based on Mary Shelley's classic literature novel, Frankenstein, whatever the title, the full title is. And now we're jumping over into gaming culture, a bunch of Ubisoft characters. I always, whenever they do some sort of a remix, I always think of Super Smash Bros. Because of all the characters they bring into that, and then they try to create one long story. But here we are with a television show that's more like a movie.
Yes.
And if you look at other television shows based off of games that were produced by the gaming industry, we're looking at things like Arcane, Cyberpunk, Edge Runners, Castlevania, Cuphead, The Witcher, The Last of Us. All of those have like universal acclaim. Mm-hmm. People love those shows. You might get a few exceptions with like the Resident Evil show that came out and the Halo show, which got more mixed to negative reviews.
And I know that viewership wise, like the audience score for the Super Mario Brothers, that's a movie, but the movie itself had like a 96%.
Well, you're going in a different direction because I was about to say that the movies based off video games suck normally. Need for Speed, Uncharted, Warcraft, Assassin's Creed, Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, those have really low ratings.
Five Nights at Freddy's, the audience, I think, has liked that movie. I know the critics didn't.
I don't know if that's the case. I think the Rotten Tomatoes score for the audience is pretty low. I do know that it sold box office-wise. It was a success.
It was a success, yeah.
So maybe you'll see more of those down the line. But the point is that what is TV getting right that movies isn't? And also, because this is movie length, did it actually fall into more of a movie category? And did it?
I was confused why this wasn't a movie as opposed to a TV show, but I really wanted to give credit to Ubisoft because the fact that they're doing this Avengers Endgame type of thing with all their different characters.
Is that how it felt? Did it feel more like it was one universe that had just pulled in all its characters, or that it was a multiverse where they kept on jumping into different people's universes?
No, it felt like the first one where it was all these different characters thrown into just one universe.
But then reimagined, their plot lines a little bit adapted, and so like if you're a fan of the games,
you're probably going to really like this show. If this was Nintendo, I would have been able to get all the different characters. Since it was Ubisoft, I only recognized a couple different games that they pulled from.
I'll just rifle them off. You got Watch Dogs, Rayman, Rainbow Six Siege.
Rayman, I had never played, but I had seen the character before.
You'd seen the character probably in the cover and stuff. Mm-hmm. There's been a few games of his. Far Cry 3. Rayman I think of as like Mickey Mouse for Disney, where when you just see his picture, you think of Ubisoft if you've ever been associated with that game. Beyond Good and Evil, Assassin's Creed,
and
Splinter Cell. All of those were in there. How many of those did you recognize?
I recognize Assassin's Creed because that's Bullfrog. Yeah, they didn't use the actual character. They used a frog just in the Assassin's Creed uniform.
And I wasn't sure if that was a character from the game because I'm not really a gamer, especially in this type of industry. The type of games I play are like Portal or like Valve games, like Half-Life and all those like classic ones. Because I don't do the normal thing where people wait for games to come out and then they buy them and then they play them that instant. I wait like 10 years down the line and then I go to like Steam and I look at the top rated games of all time and then I just download the top 3.
You and me are very different because I play things like Henry Stickmin and I remember I waited like months upon months for that to come out.
See, that's a little different because that's more of a independent game that wasn't produced for... Well, I guess I see your point, but I'm saying like more along the big game thing, like the ones that are produced by the Riot Games, by the CD Projekt Red game, the Ubisoft, all those like giant ones, not the independent games made by one person.
And I also didn't play Splinter Cell, but I did recognize when one of the characters is wearing the uniform of Splinter Cell. I was like, oh, that's 100% what this game is.
There's supposed to be a big twist involving the main character and the main character's daughter from Splinter Cell in this show, but you were able to pick that up. That's good. So tell me, how do you want to go about this review? We've got 6 episodes. Do you want to give me a recap to each one, or would you rather just tell me your favorites and like overall plot points or pros and cons? What do you want to do?
I would. We can just go through every episode.
Every single episode.
I have my thoughts about.
So episode 1, we have Captain Laserhawk himself. He's actually named Dolph Laserhawk.
Dolph Laserhawk, yeah, and he's together with someone named Alex.
Yeah, Alex is his boyfriend, and this is all from the trailer that I saw. And they're hanging out, they're solving crime together. Like, what do they do?
So the USA USA's been replaced by Eden. Eden is kind of like Evil Corp from Mr. Robot. In fact, they even have the E, like a similar symbol to them.
Yeah.
And Eden apparently introduced UBI to the USA, and because of that, they've been able to take over the USA, and anyone who opposes Eden is seen as a terrorist in their eyes.
All right.
And you have Raymond.
So they're both the government and also a giant conglomeration corporation company like Enron or something like that. Yeah.
And then Raymond is kind of their puppet. He's someone who has a late night show that seems like everybody is watching. And Eden is
when you say he's a puppet, like he's not controlled by someone. He's just wonky looking dude.
He's promoting their propaganda. And Eden even makes it where people have to watch a show. It's
so he's like the Hunger Games character.
Yes.
The guy with the weird hair.
Stanley Tucci, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah.
Those who oppose Eden are Dolph, Laserhawk, and Alex. They're supposed terrorists, and they're trying to take down Eden because there's been this revolution or uprising in the past couple decades that seems like it might possibly be able to tip it over. And but Alex betrays Dolph during a mission where they're trying to get this codec that is supposed to kind of be the I guess kryptonite to Eden.
And does Dolph realize this at the time that he's being betrayed, or is it one of those scenarios like in 007 with where his partner looks like he's being Goldfinger or whatever?
Yeah.
Where it looks like his partner has actually been killed, but then you find out later on that was actually like all a scam.
It's during the middle of the mission where Alex pulls a gun on Dolph and then shoots him. Then Laserhawk wakes up in a prison and learns that he's going to be doing missions with Jade, Paige, Bullfrog, and we think this guy named Cody Rhodes. And I thought Cody Rhodes was
the wrestler.
He's a WWE wrestler, which when I learned that they actually brought a person into this video game or this show out of nowhere.
They brought multiple wrestlers into the show. Not all of them played themselves, but they had different versions of different wrestlers.
It was still the funniest because they kill him off first. This is Suicide Squad, at least at this point 2.0, because you even have the Amanda Walder character, the warden, Sarah Fisher. She's the one that gives out orders to the rest of the crew, and it's so much Suicide Squad where they have bombs implanted in their heads. That was shown in the trailer too, right? And Cody Rhodes, when he tries to attack Sarah Fisher, just ends up blowing him up.
Does it feel like it's stealing from Suicide Squad?
No, because the characters are different enough, and also I don't think that there's as many characters in this show as there are.
Okay, all right, yeah. So run down like how they're different. So the main character, unlike with because what was his face? Idris Elba's character in that he didn't even want to be part of the group really.
Well, that's similar with Dolph Laserhawk.
Yeah, he kind of had a sarcastic personality. He had sort of a few superhero powers, but he by all means wasn't the most op of the group. So
I would say Dolph probably is the most op of this group, but he is. Like Sarah,
because he's like a RoboCop, right? They took him after he got shot and they made him even stronger and crazy.
Yes.
Now, did he look like a robot guy before he went into the prison?
Part cyborg?
Yeah,
I think he was always part cyborg.
So this just like increased him as more of a cyborg.
But he has a full metal arm. He even has an eye that is green, and so he's cyborg. He's the most powerful and. He's a lone wolf though. Sarah Fisher goes to him and he's just like, I'm not going to be part of a group, but she kind of makes it that way because she hints that she knows what happened to Alex, and obviously Laserhawk is trying to get to Alex to kind of figure out what exactly is going on, or at least have a fight with him because he's really mad that he crossed.
So she gives him a reason to live, a will to survive, and also
a reason to be part of the group. I think that's the biggest
motive to continue working for her. Who is your favorite character of the group? Because again, you said you had the frog dude from Assassin's Creed. Bullfrog, and what is he able to do? Can he like jump time?
He's a master assassin. No, and that's his biggest thing. And in fact, I would say that he was my favorite character because usually when you have a character like that, they're crazy. They're the hit monkey type of character. They're the people that don't really have a moral compass, just want to kill whoever.
He's not a person, but yes.
Bullfrog,
and neither was Hitmonkey.
But Bullfrog, while being a master assassin, isn't just crazy. Like, he actually is able to talk to people normally. And
does he eat flies?
No.
Does he do anything frog related?
Well, he can blow bubbles that show you where you are. So, like, a bubble will come out of his throat, and then it'll show you. That's how Jade is able to see that they're in an Eden Supermax. And Jade is also kind of, I guess she's the Batman type of character. I only say that because Paige, who is this giant pig, is her uncle, or that's at least what she calls him.
Yeah,
and
the pig thing reminds me more of like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but like
this one is a huge. Yeah, he's huge. He's like a one.
So he's the version of the shark guy in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, but Paige also can speak to people. There's no character that like can't speak or is just crazy, and that was something nice to see that was different, because even in Agent Elvis, you had the monkey there who just wanted to kill whoever. These people actually seem like they're somewhat realistic, even though
considering how they're animated, and also anime characters can come off a bit, how would you say, eccentric?
Yes.
You would think that maybe here they would have drawn upon that, but they didn't.
Yes, and
so
I'm
these
saying
are
that
a grounded
pro
group
for the show.
of like ridiculous. There's a toad, there's a pig, there's this cyborg guy, and they're all fighting, I would assume not Eden though?
No, the warden is working for Eden,
yes.
But the warden even says right before she leaves at the very end of the first episode, you're taking my orders, like you're working for me. This is my type of thing, the missions I'm deciding to choose.
Sure, so what missions is she choosing, and when do we get into those?
Episode 2, because episode 1 ends with us being introduced to all the people in the prison after we've been following Laserhawk for a good 15 minutes.
And that was enough to make you think, I want to binge this whole series and see where it goes.
Because I didn't like the first episode. It felt like it was slow moving, but when we actually got to the characters at the very end of it, and I was like, oh, this is going to be Suicide Squad 2.0, I wanted to see the rest of the series.
A compelling cliffhanger to keep you going. Episode 2 through what follows the missions?
2 and 3.
2 and 3.
Because we're introduced to Pagan Min at the beginning of episode 2. It seems like he's going to be the big bad that season. He even ends up killing someone at the very beginning of the first episode. And the team must infiltrate his fortress and get a super scope machine, which is just a dangerous machine that is able to get monsters from another world that he has, swap it with a replica, and also grab him by the very end. That's how the mission is supposed to go. But it ends up being that the whole entire group gets caught while they're going through this mission. And one thing I have to say I like most about the show is that when a character dies, they die. And they're not afraid to kill off characters, because Pagan kills Jade like midway through the second episode, like a shot to the heart, and she's dead. And then once they're all able to escape, because Laserhawk is able to page Sarah Fisher, and it's like, use her bomb that you have implanted in her head, that she does, and then they're all able to escape. And Paige is so mad because Paige even said to Jade during the second episode that he had feelings for her.
Yeah.
Was so mad that he ended up killing Pagan. Also, Pagan was about to sleep with Alex, and that's how Laserhawk kind of fucked up the mission so that they all got trapped.
Yeah, so from what I've understood, the fans have been really like in favor of this, Ubisoft fans. They even say that it's a better show than the company deserves, Ubisoft. But they did say that these characters, the ones that you just mentioned dying from Beyond Good and Evil, that those two were done dirty. Like the way that they were brought in, very like they didn't have much of a storyline, and they kind of introduced the fact that one liked the other one super quick at the very end. But like those two being mainstays in their universe, like they kind of felt like they just brought them in.
I could see how fans could be annoyed about that. I was just glad that they never brought back Jade, because that's what I was afraid they were going to do. Where it's like, oh, there's some way that we get some type of machine, and we're going to set
the precedent where it could kill anybody off. We get that. So episode 3 rolls around. What happens?
So the Niji 6, which are just these like terrible ripoffs of the Power Rangers, end up defeating all these kaiju, because at the very end of episode 2, Alex gets away, and he also gets the super scope machine and starts shooting these portals that are bringing out these giant rabid bunnies, the rabid rabbits, which I did not know were part of Ubisoft. But and it's funny because they're their own type of game that I know about. But here they're these like crazy monsters, and it seems like that's going to be the cliffhanger. Or how are these people going to defeat them? But by the beginning of episode 3, the Niji 6 has already defeated all the rabid rabbits, and they're having a talk with Raymond. And Raymond gets fired from his show after an altercation with Red, because there seems to be some tension between just normal humans and hybrids, because we see so many different animal humans, almost like BoJack Horseman, whether it be tigers or whether it be any type of moose, just these hybrid people. And that's kind of what episode 3 follows, because Alex has decided to make these brainwashing glasses that he gives out to this really big wrestling event that makes all the makes all the people want to go to war with the hybrids and start killing them. And then the warden tells them to go after Alex, tells the team to go after Alex, who's left. The bullfrog needs to kill this antenna so that the glasses stop working. Paige dies in the crossfire because he himself is trying to stop this fight from going on. And once Bullfrog does kill the antenna, the cops just start coming out and killing all the hybrids, including Paige. That was sad to see. And then Laserhawk and Alex have their altercation. They have their fight.
In the third episode.
In the third episode of this show. And then Laserhawk ends up killing Alex. He shoots him right there.
So there's the main villain gone.
Yeah, it seemed like they did it twice. They did it with they did it with Pagan Min, and then they did it with Alex, where both those characters are dead. And it was strange because then the Bullfrog gets taken to prison, and the warden comes in saving Laserhawk at the very last second of episode 3. But this is where the show kind of broke off because it felt like we got either 2 seasons of a show or even 2 different TV shows because episodes 1 through 3 I liked. I'm even going to include episode 1 in there because it seemed like it kind of followed the same story arc. And then episode 4 through 6, it kind of abandons that story arc and gives us 3 different ones. What happens to Laserhawk, what happens to the Warden, and also what happens to Raymond. Raymond was my favorite character for like the first 5 episodes.
You have hardly touched upon him.
So he was fired at the beginning of episode 3, replaced at the end of episode 3 with a character that looks just like him.
Why was he fired?
Because he was fighting with Red, because the Red person from the Niji 6 said that he didn't like hybrids, and then Raymond tried to stick up for himself because he was like, hey, I'm a hybrid, and I'm also a hybrid from the place where these bunnies were taken from. And then the Red is like, I stick by what I said, and then Raymond flips out and gets fired from the TV station.
Got it.
And then we started to see him do coke and like all these crazy things. He's even ordering hookers, and I was wondering, it's like a kid game, right?
Yeah,
Raymond?
It's like the most wholesome character. When I compared it to Mickey Mouse, or it's been compared to Mario before, the staple character for that brand. And so, like, they're taking him. It's the exact thing that South Park did when it brought in Mickey Mouse and had him just yelling at all the characters.
Beating up those characters.
Yeah. And I'll compare this to South Park later on when I talk about Adi Shankar, the person who created the show, who also voiced Red, by the way. But, so he's been fired. Raymond's been fired. He's been replaced by someone who looks exactly like him. And then episodes 4 through 6.
They're the turning point for me where I liked the show to not like the show.
So you didn't like the individual, like, follow storylines?
It wasn't as much as that as, like, they changed the character's look for episode 4 and 5, especially Laserhawk and...
like, they changed how they drew it?
Yes, they changed the animation. From what I assume was Splinter Cell, like, they started to look like actual characters. Sarah Fisher and Laserhawk.
I don't think it was Splinter Cell, but okay, yeah.
They look like what the late 90s, early 2000 video games tried to do, where they tried to make them look like normal characters, but there was, like, put 8 layers of just glitch and, like, and...
Like 8-bit? What?
Yeah, 8-bit, basically, to make them almost kind of really disorienting to look at. It kind of actually hurt my eyes. But episode 4 follows Sarah's backstory completely, where we learn that her dad teamed up with this guy named Marcus, who we saw at the first scene of the show, and they decided to make this wasteland uprising. Learned that.
You learn that her dad is Sam Fisher, the main character from Splinter Cell. Yes.
Yeah, and so.
But I thought you also learned that she's evil. But
that doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen yet.
No.
Well, it's not like anybody listening to this knows that we're already spoiling it. So yes. So, anyways.
But it turns out that Laserhawk and Sarah, when it seems like at the very beginning of the episode they get knocked out and taken to an Eden Supermax, aren't even actually really at an Eden Supermax. They're at a place where Marcus is, and he just put them in a VR facility. And Marcus does not trust Sarah, so in episode 5, Marcus puts her in kind of like a hell where she has to witness her father dying over and over. Puts Laserhawk in a dream world, and then Raymond learns from a message on a TV screen that he needs to go into custody and interview Bullfrog. And so I actually liked episode 5 because we touched upon all those different stories, and it was an overall theme of forgiveness. Raymond learns from the Bullfrog that he's promoted the propaganda that that Eden has kept doing, and he feels really bad for it because he realizes all the violence and destruction that's caused. Sarah forgives her younger self, which is kind of in line with episode 4 because again we saw her backstory.
Also, it's like a Harley Quinn thing that you've watched before.
Yes, and then also Laserhawk, even though he's put in a dream world where he sees people like Paige, Jade, and Alex, and all those people, he realizes that he needs to go back to Mega City to try and save Bullfrog. And episode 5 was nice before episode 6 ruined all of those story arcs, because episode 6, like following Raymond, because I had the least problem with his storyline in the last episode, but it still seemed problematic because the whole point of episode 5 was he saw all the death and destruction that he was doing, but he decides that he's going to go to the main people of Eden and just take them all out.
Yeah.
Which kind of defeats the purpose of him realizing all the violence if he's just going to kill off all the different characters. But the Eden board of directors is evil, so I was willing to give it somewhat of a pass for that, but overall it just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. Laserhawk, he's trying to get back to Mega City, but at the end of episode 5, as you've mentioned, Sarah ends up being evil, and we see her working on his arm in the 4th episode, and we realize that she put a virus in him. This is revealed at the very beginning of the 6th episode. So he starts going crazy, and also the Niji 6, as well as these people that he was fighting in the 1st episode, just a row of villains are blocking him off from Mega City, where he needs to fight the Niji 6, causing a massive explosion, killing off all the bad guys, but then he doesn't even go to Bullfrog, which was what episode 5 was about, and then he turns back and decides to go and deal with Sarah Fisher because he realizes that she's evil. And then the last storyline, her whole backstory, Sarah Fisher's episode 4 and 5, where we're supposed to feel sorry for her character, just gets completely destroyed because she's evil and she's trying to kill Marcus for a majority of the episode.
How does it come about that it shows that she's evil besides her putting the virus in his arm? Like, what are we giving as
Marcus already can. That's the reason why he put her in.
No, I got that, but like, how is it shown that she is like? What has she done?
Marcus is like, okay, we're gonna need to help Laserhawk. Like, we have work to do because it seems like when she finally forgives herself, she's going to be part of the underground revolution. But it turns out that she's like, no, she just wants to take over the world for her complete
So she doesn't
self.
want to sell out to Eden. She wants the actual power.
Yes, and she even asked Marcus at the very end of the episode to join her before Laserhawk shows up and is like, you know what? And he tries to sacrifice himself, ends up killing himself, but not even killing Sarah, because I guess the twist in the final episode is that Sarah, even though she got blown up, was part robot herself. So even by the last scene of the finale is her still asking Marcus, after Laserhawk has destroyed himself, if he will join her.
So the main character of the series is dead.
Yes.
As well as most of the
mid-credit scene, we see that we don't exactly know where Laserhawk is, but we see that he is meeting Sarah's father. He's in some type of place after death. He's not 100% dead, but it seems like he's going to somehow find his way back to life with the father of Sarah.
So he's in like a hellscape or some sort of purgatory?
Something that I liked about the episode was that the show did different animation, like showed gameplay of maybe like the early 80s, kind of the Pac-Man-esque type thing.
Yeah, French studio Bobby
characters.
Pill has gotten a lot of credit for the way that they animated everything.
And they'll have scenes play out where you're hearing the characters talk over this like 8-bit game or this other type of game, like the arcade games, the fighting games. That happened as well. They had multiple of those. Even episode 4, I assume the Raymond car chasing game that we see the inmates play at the Supermax as part of the backstory was an actual game that they had. So that's where I give
the references were all over the place.
That's where I give Ubisoft a ton of credit. But
don't give it Ubisoft. It was, again, the creator of it, Adi Shankar, the people behind the production of it, the director.
That's more what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But when it got to episodes 4 through 6, it also just seemed like the story betrayed itself. I was more interested. Why not just keep Alex as the main villain throughout the whole season? Keep a lot of these
to subvert
characters
expectations. If there's one thing I've learned about Adi Shankar, it's that he does not like the routine. He does not like the formulaic. He does not like the generic. He hates tropes. So if he can find a way to really change things and make the audience not know where we're going, then he's going to do that. He does also realize, based off one of his interviews, that if he does that too much, then he's going to lose the audience entirely.
Well, it almost
because the audience has a certain expectation that the plot will make sense in a way. But it does sound like he did that with certain characters like Raymond and the bullfrog. And even if the main character does perish, he still has an option of coming back.
Yeah, but like Raymond, he ends up taking out the full board of directors and stops the execution of Bullfrog, which was going to be shown on live TV.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where I just don't know where the story is even supposed to go after this. I thought it was even going to be a limited series before we get the mid-credit scene, because it seems like all the characters.
It's open-ended, so it could end here, right?
Yeah.
But there's always a chance for more stuff.
But like episodes, it almost, you say that if he does it too much, he's afraid of that happening. But he did do it
because he's done it in other things.
Like what?
Okay, so this is the same guy who he has a sorry. Okay, so this is the same guy. You would know him because he came out a bunch of years ago on YouTube making these unauthorized fan films, including Thomas Jane coming back as the Punisher for Dirty Laundry, reprising his role there. He also did the James Van Der Beek Dark Power Rangers. What he wanted to do for a very long time was take iconic brands, IPs, and then do hard R versions of them.
That explains Raymond's storyline completely.
Really switch them up and do stuff like that. He was also in charge. He showran Castlevania with a few other people, and then he left around season 3 or 4. He's also been put in charge of making the future Devil May Cry. That's not the Devilman Crybaby or whatever that was, but like Devil May Cry, that other video game, and so he's going to adapt that. The guy himself is a weirdo, and listening to his interviews, I lost a lot of respect for him because this is the South Park connection again. He sounds like one of those characters who is so narcissistic that he's like grown into, like, that he smells his own farts. For instance,
what has
he was doing a Screen Rant interview where he starts going off on a tangent. The guy was asking him what inspired him, like how he did the stuff, and he starts talking about how he's psychic, how his family, he has powers, he's clairvoyant, he's clairsentient, and that everything that he does is meant to be that way, and that he's not actually doing it, it's just happening to him. He's just following the threads. He's insane. He's a crazy man, but he's being put in charge of all these because he's clever enough to hold these projects together, and it seems like this one's a successful project, and I'm glad you liked at least half of it.
Yeah, half of it, but I would give this series like a 5 out of 10.
Oh, really? That low? A lot of people really, really do like it, especially those who have played the games. They seem to have jumped on board, and I have nothing against the guy getting credit for presenting that, but it does feel like this is the first real thing that he's done besides Castlevania. The other stuff, Dread, what else does he like to take credit for? There's another, The Gray. I think he was executively producing on those. And he would use them, he would like flash them around as part of like his portfolio, when really he's not the one who's doing most of the things. He also is the guy who I think pushed for Apu to be taken off The Simpsons. He was the first guy to do that. So he's all over the place. You just have to listen to him for a few minutes. He ended that interview with Screen Rant with the craziest thing where he was talking to the guy. It seemed like they knew each other pretty well, because earlier on he described how he had contacted him and told him he was being poisoned, and how he knew about what was poisoning him. And
Are you sure that wasn't just like some weird Tom Green type like a thing he was trying to do?
It's not just that one. It's not, that was like the epitome to me, because that was the first one I logged into, and at first I'm just writing down notes being like, all right, we can talk about this and this and this, and it seems like this is, like, one thing I do like about him is that he hates trailers too. Like, don't watch a trailer if you want to get a movie ruined for you, or if you don't want to get the movie ruined for you, because if you've watched enough movies, you're able to just piece those together real quick.
With the trailer that was released, everything that he shows is from the first episode. I guess, I know he isn't the one making the trailer, but everything they show is from the first episode, so everything else that you see is new. But when it gets to episodes 4 through 6, that's when a different story takes place, and a lot more of a boring and just weird one. I liked Raymond for the first like 5 episodes, but by the end of the 6th episode, I didn't even really want to see his character again, because it just felt like they milked every storyline as much as they could, even past its prime, even past when it was good.
All right, so you kind of fall in the middle of everything. You give it a completely average 5 out of 10. which isn't just trashing it. It's not an F, because that's not how the rating scale works.
Yeah.
If you wanted to just trash it, you would have given it a 1 or 2. But the first 3 episodes, you'd still recommend?
Yes, I'd recommend the first 3.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you on the... Oh, I'll say IGN gave it a 9. For the most part, it doesn't look like a lot of places have seen this, and that's just because of how much Netflix is coming out with. But yeah, thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.
Bye.